Hello, everyone. Today on Rise with Sonia, I'm excited to welcome Mike Karbassi, a respected leader, entrepreneur, and a community advocate who's passionate about growth, impact, and building stronger communities. Mike has made a name for himself through his dedication to leadership and services, and today we're diving deep into his journey, his lessons, and the mindset behind success. Mike, welcome to Rise with Sonia.
Well, thanks for that intro. That's great. I wish they did that at my council meetings too.
For the people who know you from City Council but may not fully understand your vision for District 1, why are you running for Board of Supervisors?
Great question. So for the last 7 years, I've been a council member for the city of Fresno for the northwest part of the city. It's where I was born and raised. And we actually have a supervisor for this area right now. His name is Brian Pacheco.
Okay.
Brian has decided to run for state assembly. So unexpectedly, it's created a vacancy.
Right.
And I had several individuals from our law enforcement community and the farming community say, hey, we need someone to step up and run that has the experience. And I really considered it, talked to my family about it, and decided to run. The city's important, but the county is really important. You
Absolutely.
go from a $2.4 billion budget in the city to a $5 billion budget in the county. And a lot of the decisions we make have to do with our quality of life, the quality of farming, the quality of course, public health and social services. So I'm excited. It's a big job, and it's really important to have someone that's ready to do the job.
Right, absolutely. And what area does that cover?
Great. So this is Area 1. So my current district in the city has 80,000 residents. This
Okay.
one has 200,000. So it's
Oh.
very large.
Okay.
It covers the northwest part of the county. So you have the western part of Fresno, everything west of 99,
Okay.
and then west of 41 when you go further southwest. So you have northwest, central west, southwest Fresno. And then you have the county areas, communities like Kerman,
Oh, okay.
Easton to the south, Faribault to the north, Mendota, Five Points, Tranquility. So, and go all the way past the 5. It is a very, very large district.
Oh, what do you think Fresno County residents are most frustrated about today?
It really depends what part of the county you're in. If I was to say overall, I'd probably say the roads.
Yeah.
Probably the condition of roads. I mentioned earlier in Tranquility, I was out there meeting with some residents out there, small town.
Right.
But my gosh, I thought our roads were bad in Fresno. And
Yeah.
over there, I mean, they are truly crumbling. So
Absolutely.
one of the things I'd love to see is after, I think, 20, 30 years, getting those roads repaved.
Right.
It may sound small overall, but for the folks living there, it's a big deal.
What's one mistake you made in public office that taught you something very important?
I tend to be a very trusting person. And when I was new as a council member, I'm still very eager. I'm very lucky to have this job.
Right.
I enjoy it every day. Even on the hard days, too trusting. And I've learned in politics, you got to be very careful. So I had one person who was on the council, and I thought, oh, this person wouldn't lie. That's probably what's really going on. And
Right.
I believe that person. I was wrong. And I learned
Yeah.
early on, just be very careful, trust but verify. If
Yeah.
you're good, people talk,
Exactly.
especially in a community like Kerman
Yeah.
or in Northwest Fresno where I grew up.
Right.
If you're good, the word gets around. And if you're not, the word also gets around. So I
Yes.
think it's always worked out. Just choosing the right path is a good way to
Yeah.
go.
How do you work with people who strongly disagree with you?
That's a great question. So, running for supervisor, you have to have, there's 5 supervisors. If I want to get anything for the district, I have to have at least 3 votes.
Absolutely.
So that's a majority.
Yeah.
I have myself. I need 2 more. So 2 of the current supervisors, one is Luis Chavez, the other is
Right.
Gary Bredefeld. They both endorsed me. Both are, one's Democrat, one's Republican.
Oh.
These local offices are nonpartisan.
Yeah.
A lot of it is about who you are and your reputation. I tend not to be very hyper-partisan. When someone calls my office, we never say, oh, are you a Democrat or a Republican? We just say, what's your problem? How can we help you?
Right.
And I really am very serious about keeping it nonpartisan, because when you are facing an issue like a road that has a pothole or
Yeah.
a sidewalk that's bumpy, and you don't want your parents or an elderly person tripping or kids tripping and falling,
Right.
or the park isn't being maintained, or we have an issue with an unhoused person in front of our business.
Yeah.
There's no great Democrat or Republican solution. It's just a solution.
Exactly.
So I just don't engage as much as possible with partisanship. I try to
Right.
just focus on the issue.
What are the biggest challenges facing District 1?
Water.
Yeah.
A lot of folks, whether they're 3rd generation or 1st generation, they get into farming, or even beyond that, everyone knows that water is a serious issue. And a lot of it has to do with the state and federal government, and we are stuck with it.
Yeah.
It's very complicated and it's not an easy solution. There's a law called SIGMA, which is a state law, Sustainable Groundwater Management Act. And that has really regulated our ability to utilize water like we have in the past. And we have to, it's not bad that we have to, of course, raise our water table and capture more water.
Right.
The problem is the cost is very high because you have communities like Mendota and Fireball, and San Joaquin, very heavily dependent on farm labor. And when farms can't produce, the labor can't work. And when they have no income, those communities face really depression-like issues. So I would say to the powers that be in Washington and Sacramento, see, we're lucky to be born here. Like, you have fresh pomegranates, fresh figs, almond. We have these things. Everyone else takes it for granted.
Right.
They don't realize the food that we grow comes from the West Side, comes from Fresno County.
Yeah.
So I think water is a big issue.
Yeah.
Biggest issue, at least for District 1.
How do you plan to improve infrastructure, roads, and neighborhood services in underserved areas?
Yep. First is you have to identify there's a problem and that we can do better.
Yes.
I think sometimes without bad intentions, because the problems are so great, we want to kind of, just look the other way and say, oh, everything's fine, but it's not fine. I mean, when you live in a community, whether it's the wealthiest neighborhood or the poorest neighborhood, everybody deserves basic quality services. And some of these neighborhoods have elements to them. Imagine if you're a kid growing up there. We want that child to grow up and to achieve something, but how can you do that when you don't have any park space or the park is just dirty and unkempt?
Right.
We've done a lot in Northwest Fresno, whether you're in Pinedale or you're in another part, to really bring up the community altogether. The other part is having the ability to get more resources. It takes money. When it comes to infrastructure, we have something called Measure C. It is a transportation sales tax. We've had it for 40 years. The voters approve it. There'll be a new version of Measure C coming forward in November. There's 2 different versions floating around. We'll see which one makes it to the ballot. But regardless, we need if the voters approve it, we need some form of these transportation dollars, because both measures are going to focus more on putting more money back into neighborhoods.
Oh,
and that's really important.
There was something called the VMT tax. What is that?
Yeah, that's a frustrating one. So it's a bit complicated. So when we approve projects, like in the city of Fresno, in order to mitigate, meaning make up for pollution emissions, there's something called vehicle miles traveled. When we build new communities, like you're going to master develop a housing community, you want to have, it's called work, live, and play. They build it in a way that it reduces the need of people to use their cars.
Right.
They also want people to use mass transit. Now, in a place like Fresno, that's a little bit difficult.
It is.
Only because we are more spread out, and I think people want the freedom of using their own vehicle. The trouble with VMT is not all cars pollute. 1 in 4 new cars sold in California are electric.
Absolutely.
They don't produce emissions.
Yes.
It's tough because it just adds another tax that a developer will transfer to the property owner, or the resident, or the business owner.
Okay.
And it's just another thing Sacramento's done to help the environment, but I think without thinking. It's in my opinion, there should be a happy medium, but it's just too extreme, and it drastically will increase the price of investors coming into communities like Fresno to build us up.
So is that in place at the moment?
The state law passed a few years ago. Fresno just passed its own VMT policy recently.
Got it.
So new projects coming forward have to mitigate VMT.
Many families feel squeezed by inflation and housing cost. What practical county-level solutions can actually help?
We have to realize that a lot of the things that we get stuck with are mandated by the state, mandated by the federal government. Engaging with those officials and having a working relationship regardless of their party, so they understand the pain we feel. I want to see county supervisors regularly engage with these people, because we do represent people at the local level.
Right.
This is where people feel the pain.
Yeah.
And we should do a better job of informing these folks, because they go off to Sacramento, they go off to Washington. Nothing wrong with that, but they're away from home.
Exactly.
And they don't see every day what we go through. People are really suffering in California. I have a friend of mine who, his brother lives in Texas, and he always makes fun of us. His electricity bill is 1/5 of what we have here.
Yes.
Now, we do want to have clean energy.
Yeah.
We do want to focus on the environment, but we also live in a state where they consider hydroelectric energy not clean energy. And that to me is ridiculous, because it doesn't produce any carbon emission. We have some challenges that we have to fix at the state level, but here at home, I just want to make sure people have a good quality of life, and that if they have a pothole, they have illegal dumping they see, they have an issue getting social services, they can call their supervisor, and we're going to be their advocate and make sure local government works for them.
Right.
That's what I do at the city, and I want to do that at the county.
Homelessness continues to grow across Fresno County. What's working and what's clearly not working?
If I had a magic wand in California, I would change the law so we could do what other states do. When someone is so unwell, right now we rely on outpatient, meaning here's your medicine, go take care of yourself.
Right.
We need to have an inpatient system where we can be
Yes.
like a ward, take care of that person.
Right.
Until they're well, to make sure they
Right.
take their medicine, to make sure that they're not stuck in the elements, and it's cheaper for the public to do it this way, and it's more
Yeah.
compassionate.
Right.
But we just don't have the laws that allow that yet, because
Right.
I think they're saying, well, there's individual liberty, but when you're not well and can't think for yourself, and you're basically destroying yourself, and then you're also hurting the public,
Yeah.
then it's a problem.
Public safety is always a major concern.
Yep.
How would you support law enforcement while also building trust with communities?
For the last 7 years, this has been a big priority of mine.
Yeah.
I had the goal of adding at least 100 police officers by the time I leave city council at the end of this year. We're almost there. We'll have
That's
97
awesome.
new police officers.
Okay.
Now, I'm not saying police officers are the only answer,
Yeah.
but after the recession, our department got so shrunken down. There's a minimum you need. I mean,
Right.
and we're not even close. I think the minimum's 2 per thousand. We were at like 1.3, 1.4 when I started. We're getting close to 2. We're getting
Okay.
really close.
Yeah.
And what you've seen is violent crime and murders have plummeted over the
Right.
last 7 years,
Right.
which is great. We also invest a lot more in parks and community centers.
Right.
Programs for youth,
Yeah.
because we can't expect our kids to just automatically find opportunity and seize
Right.
it. It's a learned behavior, and we have to surround them with positive things. And one of the things that we don't talk enough about is the childhood trauma people
Yes.
experience in communities all over the county,
Right.
even in Fresno. It's a sensitive subject, but bad things happen to children.
Yeah.
And again, some people want to look the other way because we don't want to talk about it, but we have to, because those kids grow up and that trauma becomes a reality. And in our cultures,
Right.
we're very lucky.
Yeah.
Our elders are very important to us, and they pass down so much wisdom, but a lot of kids don't grow up with that, sadly.
Small businesses say they're drowning in regulations and rising cost. What would you do to support local entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so we have a big problem. Our family business, for example, insurance rates are out of control.
Yeah.
And part of it is, again, I'm sorry, I go back to the state a lot, but what could we do locally?
Yeah.
For example, one of my goals is to, on the west side, have another fire station.
Okay.
What that can do is improve response times, reduce the risk of fires in our community.
Right.
That helps insurance rates. It helps our
Absolutely.
rating. And that's more of a long-term goal.
Right.
But in the short term, what can we do for small businesses? Working with organizations like we have Confia or the Fresno Area Hispanic Foundation. And a little birdie told me there will be a Punjabi
Chamber of Commerce.
These organizations are really important because my family immigrated to this country too.
Right.
And when you come here, you come with a work ethic.
Right.
And you can really create. And we've seen so many of these folks succeed in areas like medicine, of course, but farming,
Yeah.
small business,
Right.
trucking,
Right.
all sorts of things. And then they create jobs and opportunities for others. So we need to stimulate this. It's great to look for a big company to come here and create tech jobs. That's awesome.
Right.
But the majority of our commerce comes from small businesses and farming.
Absolutely.
And we should support them, even if it's in the smallest way. Take an existing family business that maybe is having difficulty getting from third to second, or second to, first to
Yeah.
second generation, and help them kind of bridge that gap and
Right.
embrace technology and inventory systems, things like that.
Right.
We've done that at the city, and it's
Yeah.
helped. But I think we can do more of that at the county level, especially in the smaller communities like Fireball and Mendota, where they're really, really hungry for investment. And
Right, that is
the
true.
mayors there are very, very hungry for it.
All right. What industries do you believe will drive Fresno County's economy over the next 10 years?
Well, ag, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
Fresno County is the #1 ag producing county in the nation, but District 1, which is the west side, it's important for the county, but it's critical. That is our economy, and
Right.
people say the foundation of our economy is ag. It's really the fabric of our economy, and I say that because it's not just about pulling crops from the ground
Right.
or cattle
Yeah.
or dairy and things like that. It's also about all the businesses connected to it. This is our competitive advantage. We should capitalize on this. We
Right,
shouldn't
absolutely.
be shy of it. We should embrace it. But we also have to worry about with the water policies. A lot of the land is unfortunately being left fallow, meaning unused. But
Right.
those owners, the farmers, the local farmers, are having to pay property taxes. So
Yes.
there's a new movement to convert a lot of this ag land
Right.
to solar farms.
Oh, okay.
And what that will do is that will bring up a tremendous amount of resources, because there's something called the Williamson Act.
Yeah.
The Williamson Act limits how much taxes we can get on farmland,
Okay.
which is meant to help farmers. It's a good thing.
Right.
But when they use the solar farms, that's going to bring a lot more property tax. We can use that money for more sheriff's deputies and public
Oh,
safety,
nice.
the fire station I was talking about.
Yeah.
Hiring more people in the county to provide services and social services, things like that.
Right.
So there's a lot of potential out there.
Okay.
And Sonia, you mentioned public safety is something really important to me.
Yeah.
When I ran for this seat, it was really important that I want folks to know that, there's in the entire county, only 6 people are running for this seat. Of the 6, I want folks to know that I'm the one that's going to keep them safe, their families,
Right.
their businesses, their property.
Yeah.
I'm blessed to have the support of our district attorney, Lisa Smitkamp,
Uh-huh.
our sheriff, John Zanoni, our deputy sheriff's association, our prosecutors association, among many other public safety groups,
Yeah.
the people we trust when we call 911,
Right.
our firefighters in the city of
Yeah.
Fresno and CAL FIRE. And I think if you can trust the people you call to keep you safe, then if you trust their choice, I ask for your support.
Absolutely. That endorsement is very important.
It is because, when you get an endorsement, it's not like you call someone and say, hey, can I have your endorsement?
Yeah.
They typically want to know what's your record.
Right.
Because they're putting their name onto you.
Exactly.
And so it means a lot to have their support. And they
Yeah.
expect a lot too.
Absolutely.
Are we going to make the hard decisions to
Yeah.
keep people safe?
So, as Fresno grows, how do we balance development with preserving community identity?
That's a great question. Look at Northwest Fresno, where I represent. There's a new shopping center called the El Paseo Shopping Center.
Right.
That's off of Hernan and 99. We have multiple ethnic restaurants, several Indian restaurants, because that
Right.
is the market out here. But they can't open if there isn't a commercial space for them to open into. So
Absolutely.
I think growth, if we can appeal to the market, can be a great thing, can facilitate folks, whether you're starting in a food truck, or you
Right.
want to open a restaurant of your own,
Yeah.
or a clothing store.
Right.
We have several of those opening up that tailor to our community. In Southeast Fresno, we have a lot more Asian markets for the Hmong community and Cambodian community and whatnot. So
Right.
we should embrace these things. These are good
Absolutely.
things. But you can't do any of that if you don't have any kind of growth. So I don't
Right.
I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I think they can work hand in hand. I'm always wary of politicians that always say it's either or.
Right.
Because the world doesn't work that way.
No. It's
we
not
talk-
black or white.
No, and we talked about making compromise. Like
Yeah.
you and wouldn't it be nice if we could spend our credit cards as much as we want, and then when we hit our credit limit, keep spending more, and no one
Right.
does anything about it? We
Yeah.
can't do that. We have
Yeah.
to live within a budget.
Right.
Our government should do the same.
Absolutely, I agree. Agriculture is the backbone of the region. How should the county support farmers facing water and labor challenges?
Really important that we take the farmer's side when it comes to regulation and policies coming through.
Right.
For the first time ever, we're about to have a board of supervisors where not one farmer is on that board. 2 of the farmers are leaving.
Oh,
And this
okay.
is a really scary thing for a lot of the folks on the west side.
Yeah.
And I've tried to reiterate the importance. I grew up benefiting from ag. All of us who grew up in
Right,
Fresno
yeah.
benefit from ag.
Absolutely.
And just because you don't farm does not mean that you don't value something. I've never worn the badge, but I'm
Right.
probably the most supportive council member in Fresno on public safety because I know as a business owner, I know the value of safety.
Yeah.
And that's the same logic and common sense I'm going to take to the board to fight for our farms, because you're not just fighting for the farmers and the
Right.
farm workers, you're fighting for those west side communities that depend on agriculture. You're fighting for our state and our country and the people that depend
That
on
is so
food.
true, yes.
And so it's just important we be strong and unified. Put
Right.
the Republican Democrat aside.
Yes.
When it comes to farming,
Right.
we all got to be together and we got to fight for our water.
Fresno County is incredibly diverse. How do you make sure every community feels represented and heard?
This is a very good question. Something I've been thinking about a lot. So one of the things that we could do as supervisors is we get a chance to appoint people to county committees and commissions.
Right.
And these are meant to be people in the community,
Absolutely.
teachers, small business owners, people that work in trades, people that work in trucking, when they have the time to do that kind of work. And I
Right.
think part of it is going out to groups and going out to, let's say, the Indian Chamber of Commerce and saying,
Right.
we have this committee, would one of your members serve?
Yeah.
And that's a great way just to increase the level of communication between cultures.
Right.
Diversity is it makes us stronger. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
We take the best of everywhere and bring
Right.
it into our community. And that makes us stronger.
Younger generation are leaving California
Mm-hmm.
because they don't see opportunity. How do we keep young talent here?
This is a real concern that I think a lot of our elders have, because I'm sure they want us to be self-reliant, but they want their kids coming back home, their grandkids. They want to
Absolutely.
be close to them.
Yeah.
Part of the problem we have in California and in communities like Fresno is housing.
Yes.
We need to build more. We need
Right.
all kinds of housing, not just single-family homes.
Yeah.
Although that's primarily what people
Affordable,
want.
yeah.
And I think you get affordable housing by building more and having more competition and reducing price. But the supply, there's so much demand for housing. There's
Right.
so much demand that people are moving to Madera.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if people want to live in Madera, but they want a house that's affordable with the features they want, so they'll drive all the way out there.
Right.
We should have that here in West Fresno. Last year, we approved the West Area Specific Plan after a decade of work, so now you're going to see more building in the Central Unified area.
Oh, okay.
I would love to see more building in communities like Firebaugh,
Right.
a little more building in Kerman, because those places are booming. Kerman has about almost 18,000 people. You grew up in Kerman.
Yes, I did.
But one complaint I've had from folks about Kerman is we need to build more than just little markets. We need to build more services. And so we're hoping to do that.
What role should cultural events and local traditions play in strengthening communities?
I was at an event a couple of weeks ago at JSK Park in Central West Fresno. And it was great because all generations were represented, and they were playing games I had not seen before, traditional Indian games. And it was great.
Right.
And it was the kids with the elders, and the parents were just watching. And it was just nice because it's great we all speak English,
Right.
but it's so important to keep your native language.
Absolutely.
I'm lucky I speak Farsi.
Yeah.
I learned both at the same time, and I'm bilingual, which is a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
So, and you know what unifies people, Sonia, is food.
Oh, yes.
Can you imagine Fresno
Yeah.
without all the Mexican food or the Indian food or
Right.
the Southeast Asian food? It would just be
Yeah.
bland.
Absolutely.
Barbecue's good though. We like
Yeah.
barbecue, but a little bit of everything is good, and that
Right.
it really is a unifying thing. And so I think that being present and accessible, allowing multiple cultures to be there, and not picking and choosing.
Right. Absolutely.
That's really important
Yeah.
because even amongst my culture,
Yeah.
there's different little groups, and the infighting is very debilitating because we're in this country now.
Yeah.
We should all be here together. We wanted to get away from all that stuff.
Right. How should voters hold elected officials accountable between elections?
You ask about between elections. The first thing is vote.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing.
Right.
It's kind of a lot to ask, but I would say pay attention to what's happening, and then when you see something, say something.
Yeah.
The number of times people see something and don't say anything, thinking, "Oh, it'll never get fixed," or "Oh, they already know about it."
Right.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
I would say, like, if you're in the city of Fresno, you can call 311,
Right.
report when that street light is out, report when the curb and gutter is bad or when there's a pothole.
Oh.
So we can know what's going on. It's a service we have. Or you can get
Okay.
the Fresgo app.
Okay.
I'd like to do the same for the county. We have
Yeah.
the number. I mean, we have some of that now, but we need to expand on that.
Right.
I think we need to make it as easy as possible for folks to engage because people are working.
Right.
Both parents are working. And you come home and you're tired.
Right.
You just want to be able to take your kids to the park,
Yeah.
make sure it's clean, make sure there's not homeless folks in there. We feel bad for them, but the park's got to be accessible.
Absolutely.
Make sure, you're not having to do a realignment every time you drive down the street because
Right.
the potholes everywhere. Our job is to take care of you, but we're not taking care of you. You need to let us know.
Right.
But I typically am the opposite. I go out to meet with people to find out what's going on. One of the reasons why I canvass a lot, meaning walking door to door.
Right.
If you see me walking in your neighborhood, I'm not selling solar, I promise you. I just want to know what your problems are. No, for example, that stretch of Marks, there were trees that
Yeah.
were pulling up the road. So it was really bad. The asphalt was just cracked everywhere and it was bumpy and it was causing a lot of problems.
Right.
So we ended up doing a whole rebuild of the road.
Right.
It took
It
a couple
looks
of years.
great, by the way.
It took
Yeah.
a while, but people
Yeah.
were patient with us. But we had a neighborhood meeting at Terrian Elementary.
Oh, okay.
And residents kept talking about this. And I was there and the public works director was there, Scott Mosier. And we said, well, okay, we're going to make this a budget priority. And we
Yeah.
did, and we got it done.
What would success look like after your first term as a
Yeah.
supervisor?
I have a couple of goals. Libraries are really important. We have in District 1, fortunately, we have libraries in Kerman and Mendota and Firebaugh, of course in Fresno, but
Right.
there's a gap. So we have one deep in Southwest Fresno. We have one kind of the northern end, but central west and central unified area, we
Right.
could use another library. And
Absolutely.
I would like to see a library built.
Right.
At the very least, if we could secure the land and the funding within 4 years, because government is a little bit slow.
Yeah.
Building will take some time.
Right.
If we can get shovels in the ground, that to me is one big feature for Southwest Fresno.
Yeah.
I'd like to see us spend more money on our roads.
Right. Absolutely.
Shaw Avenue.
Yeah.
Before I leave office, in fact, you'll get an announcement in a couple of weeks, working with one of my colleagues, Annalisa Perea, and
Yeah.
Mayor Jerry Dyer, we're going to announce the last part and start construction this year of a rebuild of Shaw.
Oh,
which is a big
okay,
deal.
yeah.
That's the road to Kerman and the road to
Right.
the west side.
Right.
From Palm all the way down to Cornelia, and maybe even beyond that. We're still working on the other stretch.
Right.
We're going to tear out the road and put a nice, new, smooth road. I mean, Shaw will be like brand new. It's the
That's
one
awesome.
thing I've had left to do before I leave office. We fixed Herndon.
Yeah.
In fact, we're doing more construction on Herndon this
Right.
fall. But Shaw Avenue is the one thing I want to get done, and we're going to get it.
When elected, what's one promise you're making today and that people can revisit later and measure?
That they can expect to get a response when they reach out to their county supervisor. I think that that's very important. I don't
Yeah.
want to be one of those supervisors that gets elected and you never see him again. Being present matters, but also delivering results matters.
Absolutely.
I mentioned earlier, every flyer that gets sent out has my personal cell phone number on it.
That is
Whether you
great.
live in Tranquility, you live in Fresno, or you live in Firebaugh, I want you to be able to call me if you have a problem.
Right.
Also, I think to expect a sense of urgency.
Yes.
That we're going to work with a faster pace at the county now. That we're
Right.
going to say, your problem can't wait for us to just get our act together. Especially if it's for your business or, God forbid, you're a
Yeah.
victim of a crime.
Right, exactly.
Our job is to respond quickly, and if we can do more to prevent crimes from happening, that's a big priority
Right.
too.
What's something about county government most people completely misunderstand?
Great question. I think the role of county government. You'd be surprised the number of times at city council people come in because they're mad about an international issue
Yeah.
or a national issue. And it's easier to come to city hall
Right.
or the county government seat
Yeah.
versus Congress or the state.
Right.
But let me tell you what the county does, cities don't do. There's two areas. One
Okay.
is public safety, the other is social services.
Okay.
Our cities have police departments, but if you're in an unincorporated city or
Yeah.
you're in a county or county island, you have the sheriff's department. They do a
Right.
great job.
Yes.
But when that person's arrested, they have to go to a jail. That's the county jail. The county runs that.
Right.
You also have, if you're a victim of a crime, God forbid, and you need justice, there's the prosecutors,
Right.
the district attorney's office. That's a really important component.
Yeah.
Probation, those things are through the county. Social services side, over half the folks in the county are in some form of DSS, social services support. There's no shame in that. People we pay taxes for this program, these programs to help people get back on their feet.
Right.
And even that has challenges, but that's a component the county has, cities don't. And the Department of Public Health.
Yes.
When you go to a restaurant, it's the county that's inspecting to make sure there's health inspections and it's safe
Right.
and healthy.
Exactly. What issue do politicians avoid talking about because it's unpopular?
Well, it depends what level of government you're talking about. I think politicians love talking about issues that are divisive because they want to split people up,
Right.
which is terrible.
Yeah.
But right now, there's the issue of growth,
Yeah.
of being able to build more housing, build more commercial. It's interesting how political that's getting. You would think we'd want to reduce the cost of living for people. We'd want more. As a consumer,
Yeah.
I'd have more choices of where I want to live,
Right.
what type of product I want to live in. So I think that's getting really heated.
Yeah.
But maybe education.
Right.
That might be another one.
Right.
Because there's this independent school board, but the quality of our schools is so critical to how we develop as a community. I don't think we're talking enough about the things that are happening, like at Fresno Unified and other school
Right.
districts.
Yeah.
So I have to say education.
One of my guests on podcast, Darius Asami, he mentioned how the younger generation had to travel outside for medical schools.
Yes.
So they had opened a medical school here in Clovis. His idea was also, keeping our doctors here,
Right.
local.
Right.
So something like that, if we can have more education resources, that would be great.
You mentioned that. I'm lucky to be Darius's council member as well as yours.
Yeah.
He lives in the district as well.
Right.
And the medical school, that's critical.
Yeah.
So it's true. A lot of you asked a question earlier, how do we keep our kids here? Having educational opportunities is big too.
Right.
I believe at CHSU, the medical school you're talking about, 30% of the students stay in Fresno.
Exactly.
Those are primary care physicians, those are specialists that are here.
right.
Being able to capture that is critical. So I'm grateful
Yeah.
to the family that invested in building this medical school, the Assemi
Right.
family.
Absolutely.
Because it gave another opportunity for our kids to get educated here,
Yeah.
but for us to also bring in those specialized physicians. We have an aging population too, with a lot of seniors.
Yes.
They need care. You shouldn't have to drive to San Francisco to get that care. And imagine if you're on the west side, and you have to drive. I mean, even it's difficult to drive to Fresno for some folks. Imagine having to go up north or down south. There's nothing wrong with thinking big.
Right.
I think we should take care of the basics, but when someone says we should have a medical school, yeah,
Right.
we should. And let's
Yeah.
do. I think sometimes we fail to actually think of what we can do. I think this community has tremendous potential,
Right.
but I think there's so much more room to do better.
What keeps you up at night about the future of the county?
I'm worried about whether or not we're going to make the right decisions to grow our community. Right now, Madera County is booming.
Yes.
There have been a lot of groups that have come into Fresno and they use the legal system and environmental laws to sue local developers or local builders or people that want to just, even immigrant families that come here and build a business that want to invest.
Right.
And they sue them so they can't build because they have an anti-growth agenda. And it's hard to tell you why they're fueled, whether it's just
Yeah.
it is what it is. That's really hurting us because if we don't grow,
Right.
if we keep building like a so-called welfare state, we have to have people pay into the system to subsidize everything else.
Right. Exactly.
And I'm really worried about that. I'm really worried about whether or not we're going to plan for the future because I think our failure to plan You know that medical school you mentioned? That was supposed to be in Fresno. Fresno didn't think big, didn't work with them, didn't help them do the work. They went to Clovis, and Clovis benefited from that big time. But now it's going beyond that. Now Madera's benefiting. Tulsa's benefiting.
Right.
I am worried because one day it may come to the point that the county won't have enough money to pay its bills.
Right.
And people suffer when that happens. This isn't something people think about every day.
Yeah.
But if you want 911 to work when you call it, if you want to be able to, if anything happens to you, be able to call social services, if you want the system to work, you want the lights to stay on, we have to bring in income.
Why should someone who's cynical about politics believe you'll make a difference?
I think it's healthy to be cynical.
Yeah.
I'm cynical too.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of politicians.
Right.
I understand. I've worked with a few people that they're pretty solid. I understand they're technically a politician. I'm technically a politician. I get that's the title. The local level's different.
Yeah.
It's not like Congress or the federal or the state government. You actually can make a difference locally. I've seen it happen time and time again. I would say, look, I'm not going to promise you the moon and the stars, but I will give it everything I've got. I'm not perfect by any means,
Yeah.
but I love the job. I'm grateful for the job, and I will give it everything I've got because I take it really seriously. I do work for you. I take the problems personally because it becomes my problem.
Right.
I want to figure it out for you.
What's your final message to District 1 voters watching this interview?
I hope people understand a little bit more of what the county does versus the city. And I hope that they would understand that there's an election coming up in June 2nd. Please, no matter who you vote for, even if it's
Right.
not for me, vote. It's
Yeah.
important. It makes a difference. I'm a candidate who's very committed to ensuring their safety.
Right.
I'm a candidate who believes in small business, having grown up in a small business, and also wants to protect our ag economy and farming.
Right.
And someone who will work really hard,
Yeah.
represent them, who's accessible.
Absolutely.
Those are important. There's only 6 people running.
Yeah.
You've got one of 6 in the entire county to choose from, and I hope they'll consider voting for me.
When people look back years from now, what do you hope they say Mike Karbassi stood for?
I would hope they would say, I like Mike.
Yeah.
That maybe we didn't always agree, but he operated with common sense and he was fair, treated me with respect, and made me feel like that he worked for me.
Right.
I think that's important. I want people.
He delivered.
I delivered. I want people to
Yeah.
feel like government works for them. Like I said, I can't promise we're going to get it right every time. We're gonna try every single time to get it right, and if we
Right.
don't, we're going to keep trying.
One word to describe Fresno.
Home. And you know what? If anyone's watching this and they don't live in Fresno,
Yeah.
if you come here, it feels like home.
Yeah.
It's not just Fresno. I mentioned being in Kerman the other day, and I was just walking door to door. And it's like where I grew up in Northwest Fresno.
Yeah.
Everyone's nice.
Yeah.
They're friendly, and they all talk to each other. Like, oh, my neighbor told me about you. I'm like, oh, then
Right.
they're talking. So
Exactly.
it's home.
Biggest waste of taxpayer money.
Having to spend money on these lawsuits. The
Yes.
city having to spend money defending itself on lawsuits from people that are from out of town or just anti-growth and have an agenda.
Yeah.
These folks aren't creating jobs. They're not creating housing to lower the price. They're actually raising the cost of living for people. But we have to do it.
Right.
But that money we're spending is being wasted. It should be spent on roads, on
Right.
firefighters, park space,
Yeah.
beautification,
Right.
dealing with illegal dumping. We're stuck spending it on these lawsuits, and we have to fight. And we have to keep fighting because these groups, it's amazing. They're built to keep us down.
Leader you admire the most.
He's a former congressman. His name is Leon Panetta. He lives in Northern California. His son's a congressman now.
Okay.
He was a CIA director. He was the chief of staff for the president. He's a pretty remarkable, fair-minded person.
Okay.
Served his country as a veteran.
Right.
Served as a level-headed, common-sense guy.
Yeah.
Did great things for his country. Now he's retired and enjoying his life.
Yeah.
But he made a difference. I think he wrote a book called Worthy Fight. It's a great book I've enjoyed reading.
Okay.
Taught me a lot. Anyone want to know about a great American leader? Leon Panetta, he's the guy.
Okay.
Someone who's not living anymore, I admire a lot. There's a lot of historical figures that are
Right.
admirable. I'm a big fan of, it's not because of the charisma, of President Kennedy. I've always told people I'm a John F. Kennedy Democrat.
Right.
You see both sides. You support business. You support ag.
Right.
And common sense issues. He died far too early.
Yeah.
Surreal experience. No joke. Last Monday, I had lunch in Fresno with Joe Kennedy III. He's a former congressman. He's the grandson of Robert F. Kennedy. He happened to be in Fresno because he's very interested in helping the West Side with some energy projects.
Oh, that is awesome.
And I'm sitting with him, and he's very polite.
Yeah.
I'm looking at him like, oh my God, he has the Kennedy eyes and the teeth.
Yeah.
It was very surreal.
Right.
I would say President Kennedy. I think that his presence, his memory, helped us believe that we can accomplish. Think about this. I hope some people don't believe in it, but
Yeah.
the fact that in the 60s when we had, this cell phone is more advanced than the computers they had back then.
Right.
And they were able to go from Earth to the moon
Yeah.
and come back.
Right.
And that was his vision that he
Yeah.
saw.
Yeah.
That's what we need in our
Right.
country, but in our county too.
Yeah.
We don't have to be a poor county. We don't have to be a depressed county.
Right.
We don't have to say, why don't we have that?
Yeah.
We can make those things happen, but we're not going to do it if we elect people that don't have the ability and they just sit on their hands saying, I'm going to get a paycheck and do nothing for 4 years.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. You got to
Right.
move.
One thing you'd change immediately.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
Obviously. Like I mentioned earlier, it would be nice if we had an ability to take care of those that are the most unwell in the
Right.
homeless situation.
Mm-hmm.
I would think I would do this. I would build more housing across the board. More housing for seniors, more
Right.
housing for working families, more apartments, condos, tiny homes, townhomes. Increase the market.
Right.
That way it could lower the price. That would be huge because I would love to be able to reduce the cost of living for people any way we can do that because it is hard out there. It is really hard. Everything's taking a bite at the apple.
Right.
The insurance premiums, the price of gas is really high. The price
Yeah.
of diesel for farmers is really high. I would prevent trauma against children.
Oh, yes.
I mentioned this earlier.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that I saw really early on as a council member doing ride-alongs with the police department.
Yeah.
We would go from call to call to call, and you would see kids that were traumatized in a very bad way. And the officer's job is to go through the call, keep it stable, help the family, and then move on.
Yeah.
But what happens to that child in the process?
Exactly.
How is that trauma dealt with?
Yeah.
This is something that we don't talk about enough. So I would love it if we had a system
Yeah.
that can help with that childhood trauma.
Right.
There are a couple of local organizations. One of them we recently funded that help with this,
Uh-huh.
but the county needs to do more. One of my goals is to work with this organization. It's called the Fresno Resiliency Center. And they don't care about religion or race. They just care if you're a child or a family that's in trauma,
Yeah.
once the law enforcement makes contact with you,
Right.
they want to help you so that when the officer leaves, you're getting connected to the services so you can deal with the psychological impact.
Right.
And we're trying to I want to work with the county and the deputies so when they see that, they can call the Resiliency Center. They can be
Right.
dispatched and make sure that family gets connected
Right.
so we can reduce the trauma. And then in the future, that family will have a real shot.
Yeah.
Maybe that's too in the weeds, but that's something I'm really passionate about.
What issue do politicians avoid talking about?
There's so many problems out there
Yeah.
that I think we get caught up with public safety, which is important, the issue with water and farming, which is important, things like
Right.
illegal dumping, the lack of park space. Those are all important issues.
Mm-hmm.
But there are these societal issues, and we went back to education
Yeah.
and children's education.
Right.
There are independent school boards out there, so typically city council members and mayors don't get involved with those groups.
Okay.
And it's emotional because it's about
Absolutely.
your kids. If those schools aren't performing well and we're not supporting them and working together,
Right.
that will depress our society. And when those kids grow up, they can get jobs, they
Yeah.
can't get opportunity, they can't they can't fend for themselves.
Right.
I think we need to have those conversations. There's an election right now for superintendent of county schools. There's 3 candidates running. 2 people are challenging the incumbent.
Yeah.
I think it's a problem. Children can't read at grade level at some of our
Yeah.
districts. It's ridiculous.
What keeps you up at night?
This is going to get really personal. My father, worrying about my dad. Now that I'm 42, I'm at an older stage in my life. I think about my parents a lot. My parents are
Yeah.
very important to me. My dad's 84. So when I look at things, I'm always thinking, how does this impact someone who maybe has mobility issues? How does this impact someone that's a senior?
Right.
Because I think we're in an interesting part in political society today where they say, oh, well, that person's too old to be in office. It's different.
Yeah.
Just because someone's old doesn't mean they have no value. It really bothers me when I hear that. I think what our elders don't want is they don't want to feel like a burden.
Yeah.
And they want to feel like they still have use. And they do have use. That wisdom, people pay all kinds of money to buy these self-help books.
Right.
You've got it right there.
Exactly.
And someone who's lived it.
Why should cynical voters trust you?
I've been doing this work for 7 years. I built a record of trying to operate with common sense, doing the best I can do. I'm not going to get it perfect every time. I want to, but
Yeah.
I'm not going to overpromise anything.
Right.
If you have a problem, I'm really committed to making sure government works well for you. And so I take it seriously. I feel very grateful to have the job I have. And
Yeah.
when someone votes for you,
Yeah.
it's a big deal.
Right.
And when someone calls you, it's your job to help them. It's not about going out and to openings of businesses and taking pictures and being on TV. That's not
Yeah,
the job.
right,
The job is
exactly.
what the cameras don't see.
Yeah.
The job is picking up the phone. That's why I give my number to everybody.
Right.
The job is really listening.
Yeah.
I have this problem. My dad said, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. But I tend to talk a lot. But listening is so important.
Yeah.
And I will listen, but I'll also act too.
Right.
I in the last 7 years, I've learned the ability of, for example, managing $1 billion budget.
Yeah.
Fresno's $2.4 billion. The county's $5 billion.
Right. So it's
That's
going to be
money
double.
that, it
Yeah.
impacts our lives.
Yeah.
You can't just go in there and say, oh, I'm going to do the job. You have
Right.
to have the ability. And I believe I built a record of having the ability.
What mistakes taught you the most?
I think being too trusting in the beginning, I still have that sense of feeling of, I love this job.
Yeah.
We can accomplish anything we put our minds to. We really can if we do the work.
I agree.
But I've learned to trust but verify.
Yeah.
There are people in this line of business who don't have the best reputations
Yeah.
or don't have the best intentions.
Right.
And it's okay to scrutinize.
Yeah.
It's okay to be skeptical.
Yeah.
Keep your guard up a little bit, but also be open to opportunity. Well, first off, I want to thank Sonia so much for inviting me to this program. I really enjoyed the opportunity to be asked questions that most folks don't ask me, so you can get a glimpse of not just what I believe in the issues I'm running on, but what's kind of in my mind and my heart. So thank you, Sonia, for doing that. I was born and raised in Fresno, went to local public schools, grew up in a small family business, and I've been a council member for 7 years in Northwest Fresno. In that time, I've dedicated myself to making sure that when folks need help, they get it. When they call about even the smallest complaint, like your sidewalks being buckled, or flooding in your street, or your parks not being maintained, or God forbid you're a victim of a crime. In the scheme of things, maybe it's not the biggest issue, but for you it's the biggest issue, which makes it the biggest for me. In the last 7 years, you've seen violent crime in Fresno go down. You've seen the quality of our parks improve, especially in Northwest Fresno, and you're starting to see our neighborhood infrastructure being maintained. I want to take this philosophy and apply it to the entire northwest part of the county, including West Fresno, communities west of the 99, and our outlying communities that are important, like San Joaquin, like Mendota, like Firebaugh, like Kerman, and Easton, and all the unincorporated communities in between. I'm Mike Karbassi. On June 2nd. Cast your vote. I'd be honored to earn it. If you have any questions, you can always go to Mike for Fresno, Mike, F-O-R, Fresno.com. Send me an email, and my phone number is on that website too. So give me a call. I'm happy to help. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mike, for coming
Sure.
by and giving us the insights, and look forward to celebrating your win.
Heaven willing. Yeah,
Yeah.
give a politician a microphone, they won't stop talking, right?
No, you're
thank
fine.
you.
Thank you so
much.
much.
Thank you.